I will be talking about the case of McDonald versus the city of Chicago in 2010. It starts with a Chicago resident named Otis McDonald, 76 years old. He lives in a very rough neighborhood, and his home has been broken into a combination of 5 times. And while he has many shotguns in his house, he wanted a handgun to properly defend himself because a shotgun was too bulky and wouldn't provide much protection inside a house, and most likely would tear through walls. So he goes to buy a handgun, but Chicago laws are so strict that you cannot register a handgun. You're allowed to buy a handgun, but you cannot register a handgun. And it also connects to the point where you cannot own a gun unless you have that gun registered. So Chicago banned handguns through a series of loophole laws that get around the Second Amendment. So McDonald decided to fight these laws by making filing a lawsuit against the city of Chicago, which became McDonald versus Chicago. There are actually a set of these regulations. One is it prohibits the registration of handguns, thus a handgun ban, basically. Require that guns be registered prior to acquisition by Chicago residents. It also mandates that guns be re-registered annually, but you have to pay for them, and the fee was generally high. And if you ever miss a payment, that gun is forever illegal, and you can never actually register it again, and you must turn it over. These bans went against the Second Amendment so heavily that they went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, where it was decided in a 5-4 decision to lift these bans, but still it still allowed the state to have power to ban certain weapons for public safety, although safety of the public doesn't seem to be the intention with a lot of these bans, as we've recently seen Chicago is one of the worst states for gun violence, even though they have the most gun laws. That's what this case really gets into. It really gets into the modern issue of gun control. We have thousands and thousands of gun laws right now, but our crime rates, our gun violence rates, they're still extremely high. Yes, they're dropping, but you cannot blame that on gun control since it has barely taken effect. I am a supporter of gun control, but only if it's the right kind of gun control, not just banning assault weapons with that broad statement. Most of the politicians can't even define what an assault weapon is. However, universal background checks, those are good in theory, but California has already shown us that those don't actually work. They have already employed universal background checks, and they have been shown not to actually diminish the gun violence rates in the slightest. We need a new form of gun, not banning weapons. That's shown not to do anything. Universal background checks, people still get around that. A lot of mass shooters, they're getting guns as gifts or they're stealing them. So gun control wouldn't really do much for there. And then there are those who want to ban guns entirely. But this is America. Second Amendment. We deserve the right to have guns to protect ourselves from a government that could turn tyrannical at any point in time. I'm not saying a government will, but it's always possible. And each citizen deserves their right to protect themselves.